back in 2003. Then you walked over and said you don't have to be alone. I don't have a crystal ball. There's no way that I could have known. I've been waking up in your house on a San Francisco street. We tuned out all the nasty weather, and it's something funny, you and me. Waking up in your house on a San Francisco street. We tuned out all the nasty weather, and it's something funny, you and me. Waking up in your house on a San Francisco street. We tuned out all the nasty weather, and it's something funny, you and me. Waking up in your house on a San Francisco street. We tuned out all the nasty weather, and it's something funny, you and me. San Francisco street, you and me. Something funny, you and me. You and me. San Francisco street, you and me. Oh. I'm losing my way through this darkness. She was heartless in every way. I'm losing my way. I'm losing my way through this darkness. She was heartless in every way. I'm losing my way.
Hello everyone, welcome. We'll get started here in just a couple of minutes, but in the meantime, if you're able to turn your cameras on, that would be very helpful to help you get more engaged in the seminar today. We'll get started in just a couple of minutes.
I'm losing my way through this darkness. She was heartless in every way. I'm losing my way.
All right. If you're able to, please turn your cameras on. Um, it's so great to see everybody. I don't think I recognize anybody here, but hopefully you're in the right place. My name is Jonathan Kim. I'm excited to be here today to be one of your co-speakers for tonight's personal financial checkup, as well as savings, investments, and protection workshop. Tonight's event is designed specifically for students and young professionals like yourselves who are looking to take control of your financial futures. Whether you're a seasoned in managing your finances or you're just here looking for a place to start, you're in the right place. So today's seminar is going to be uh, relatively simple. It's going to be split into two parts. The first part is going to be a hands-on workshop where you're going to be looking at something called a PFC. You'll learn what that stands for in a little bit, led by Yuha Kang, who's a financial professional based in the Bay Area. He's an expert in his field, and so this is a really rare opportunity to be able to talk with another expert in this field. And then the second portion of the presentation is going to be covered by myself, where we're going to talk about some of the basics of savings, investing, and protection, as well as some of the institutions where you might be able to get started in doing so. So hopefully today's seminar is, at the very least, informative and gets you thinking about your financial future. Following the workshop today, we'll have a short survey, and we have, if I know and heard correctly, we have some gift cards to give out during and after the seminar. So keep your eyes and ears peeled and really pay attention and take good notes. But until then, welcome, and I'll pass off the mic to Mr. Yuha Kang.
All right, thank you very much. Let me just share my screen really quick. Okay, sec. All right, can you guys see my screen? All right, perfect. All right. Okay, well, hello everyone. Welcome to our 2024 College Financial Workshop. Jonathan basically said everything, but I'll just say it one more time. My name is Yuha Kang, and today I'm accompanied by Jonathan Kim here, who is a financial professional as well, based in SoCal. And we will be your speakers for the 2024 College Financial Workshop. And I just want to thank you guys for sparing your time for being here. I'm sure you guys are very busy, and I hope that that you guys can gain a lot of new information to take away today. All right. So the purpose of today's session is to sort of provide you guys with some financial information to help you get like a better understanding of how to manage your money. And like Jonathan said earlier, today's workshop will be split into two sections. The first one is going to be by me, and we're going to be talking about the PFC, which is basically a money managing tool that teaches you how to visualize all your finances to help you get a better grasp of where you are at financially in life. And then the second section of today's workshop, which will be presented by Jonathan, we will be talking about what you can do and what tools you can utilize after you find out what your financial situation is, so it can help you to start, managing your money, growing your money, and protecting your money. All right. So we do have a couple ground rules. Rule number one, please change your Zoom name to your full name, just so we can establish who everyone is. And also maybe if you guys answer questions, we know which person we give the gift cards to. Rule number 2, please keep your microphones muted to prevent as much disturbances. And finally, rule number 3, please turn on your cameras because I believe that the Zoom will kick you out if it is off. And also, it's better for the seminar as well. Yeah, and that's basically it. Easy and simple. All right. So throughout our session, the speakers will be asking questions where there are some, mini prizes for you guys to get if you do answer. So I strongly recommend you to pay attention and participate and take as much notes as you can, not only so that you can get the gift card, but also so that you can learn as much as you can from today's workshop. All right, so let's get started. So can I just see a quick show of hands of who here has heard of the PFC before? I think like almost nobody. Okay. All right. Well, the PFC actually stands for the Personal Financial Checkup. And this is a tool that people can use to visualize their, personal financial situation. And I'm going to go into it deeper detail about it later today. But I first want to share my personal story with the PFC and what it has taught me from a young age. So around 9 years ago, when I was around 12 years old, that was when I got to experience how powerful the PFC truly was for the first time. It was during the summer of 2015. And this is where my brother and I and 2 of my friends, we were just, hanging out at our house. And I remember we were just chilling in the back room playing some games. And my mom, who was also a finance professional, she came out of nowhere and, challenged us to a competition. And at first, we weren't really that interested because we kind of just wanted to do our own thing. But she then said that whoever won the competition will get $20. And back then, $20 was a lot of money, for a 12-year-old. So we all, of course, got super excited and we agreed. So what she did was she challenged us to create a mock PFC. And since we were still young at the time, she made us, just try to guess how much our family spends per month. And whoever got the closest number to the amount of money our families needed to survive would get the $20. One of the key components of the PFC is a process where you jot down all of the things you need and want to pay for every month, and these are called expenses. So this is exactly what we did. As you can see, these are the mock PFCs that we created, and the 4 of us had to jot down a list of expenses off the top of our heads without using our phones. We had to calculate how much our monthly expenses are. And we guessed that our families maybe spent around $4,000 to $6,000 a month. Obviously, we didn't know any better and we were super off. And we were really shocked to find out that at the time, our family spent on average around $10,000 a month. The reason why we got such a low number is because we were actually missing a lot of things that were included in the list of expenses. And that's kind of what one of the points of the PFC is to kind of point out all the important expenses that you might not have considered that you don't usually worry about on a day-to-day basis. So my mom taught us how to find them. She taught us that there are 2 categories for expenses. There are fixed expenses and there are flexible expenses. Fixed expenses are things you need to buy to be able to survive, while flexible expenses are things you want to buy, but you don't really need to. Hence why it's called flexible. So I'm just going to show a few examples of what could be included in these categories, and I'll use my family's expenses from a few years ago as an example. So on the fixed expenses side, there are things like mortgage and rent, property insurance, property tax, auto payments, auto maintenance and gas, auto insurance, life insurance, health insurance, food, inside and outside of the house, utilities for the house, internet, and your cellular phone. So these are just some of the fixed expenses that on average most families do need. And I'll give you guys some examples of how much these could cost using an example of my family's expenses. So at that time, mortgage and rent for a family of 4 was around $4,000. Since we were renting, property insurance is $0 and property tax is also $0. Auto payments are around $900. Auto maintenance and gas are around $400. Auto insurance is around $350 for 2 cars. Life insurance for a family of 4 is around $1,400. Health insurance is around $1,500 for a family of 4. For food, it's around $1,000 minimum. For utilities for the house, it's around $250. For internet, it's around $150. And for a cellular phone, it's around $350. And this is all monthly. So if we add all of this up, it comes up to around like $8,800 a month for a family of 4 to survive or to live a decent life in the Bay Area. And I want you to notice how we didn't even cover flexible expenses yet. So flexible expenses could include, owning a pet, going out with friends, vacations, maybe any hobbies if you like to go shopping, if you like to go thrifting, if you play any sports, maybe any memberships, stuff like that. This means that we would have to make even more than $8,800 a month for a family of 4. Now, you might think that that's the last of it, but keep in mind that we forgot to consider money's greatest enemy, taxes, which means you would need to make $8,800 a month, plus some more money for your flexible expenses, plus 25 to 40% more of that total to keep up with your taxes, just for a family of 4 to live a decent life in the Bay Area. And keep in mind, this calculation was done for my family around 9 years ago. So inflation has definitely increased this number a lot more. Now, after hearing all of that, you might feel like you just heard a lot of information that is quite, difficult to swallow. Thinking that you might need to make more than $10,000 a month just for you to take care of your family. And if I'm being honest with you, that's a good thing, because that is reality. The PFC, or the Personal Financial Checkup, serves as a reality check for you to see all of your financial responsibilities on paper. It helps you visualize what you need to do and what you need to change to make the financial goals that you've set up for yourself in your life. And I also want to let you know that the expenses category is actually one of many important factors of the PFC. As you can see on the slides, you can see a couple more sections. The first one is goals, where you can have short-term, midterm, and long-term goals. Short-term goals are the goals that you set for yourself about 5 years from now, whether that be, going to grad school, or maybe getting a new car, or maybe even moving out to an apartment. Midterm goals are goals that are around 10 to 20 years from now, which could be maybe potential marriage, maybe buying a new house, maybe starting a new business. And long-term goals are for your retirement. And then, for example, short-term money is for emergencies. So you would put short-term money in a bank for easy accessibility. Midterm money is for buying a house or starting a business. And this is where we can use different financial tools like banks, investments, stocks, or insurance. And then long-term money is for after retirement. And this is where we can start a 401k or any pension plan or cash value life insurance. So that's one of the factors that the PDF considers. The next one is your income. And this is where we calculate how much money you make per month from your occupation, before and after tax. Then we have expenses, which is how much money you spend. And we learned that there are two ways to divide this topic, which is as fixed and flexible expenses. Next, we have assets, which is how much you own, whether it be a business, any properties, cash. And finally, we have liabilities, which is how much you owe. And this could be mortgage, any down payments, any student loans, any credit card debts that you owe. Right? So to sum it all up, the personal financial checkup is a tool that takes and considers all of these financial concepts in your life to help you visualize and grasp your current financial situation. With that information, you can plan financial strategies or pave a path to help you reach the goals that you set for yourself in your life. All right. So it's question time. So this is your chance to answer and possibly win a prize. I have 3 questions, so there will be 3 winners. So just please raise your hand in the Zoom call and I'll pick on whoever I see first. The first question is going to be, what is the purpose of the PFC? Anyone can answer. Nobody? Okay, well, I guess that's my fault because I did come up with slightly harder questions. Let me see if I can pull up an easier one. How about that? All right, what does PFC stand for? So anyone can raise their hand, and then Joseph, yeah, feel free to unmute and then you can answer.
PFC is personal financial checkup.
All right, okay, thank you. You'll be getting a gift card. All right, second question. What is the difference between fixed expenses and flexible expenses? All right, Sarah, thank you for raising your hand. If you want to answer, please unmute.
So fixed expenses are things like you need to buy, like such as like your rent and like things you actually need to pay. And flexible expenses is like stuff you like want to buy, like if you want to go out or like just like other things that you don't actually need.
Perfect. No, yeah, that is absolutely correct. Thank you very much for answering, and you'll be getting a gift card towards the end. And all right, the third one is slightly hard, so I'll just ask the question one more time. What is the purpose of the PFC? And this one doesn't really have like a right or wrong answer. What do you think is the purpose of the PFC? All right, Isabel, thank you for raising your hand. Please answer.
It's a realistic way to check your financial expenses, so you can set financial goals in the future, whether it's short term, mid-term, or long term.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's absolutely correct. And you will be getting a gift card at the end of the session. Thank you very much for answering. All right, so I believe that was Joseph, Sarah, and Isabel. Thank you guys very much. All right. Thank you for everybody for participating. And for those of you who answered, we do have your email addresses already, so be on the lookout for the gift card in your inbox. And then, so yeah, I'm just going to conclude the first half of today's workshop with this. Back when I was 12, I was only able to briefly find out how unaware I was about my finances. But now that I'm 21 years old, I realize that I'm still all over the place when I think about what my own PFC would look like today. And that is totally okay. This is what the PFC is for. It is supposed to help you get a better understanding and give you that reality check you need to help you start focusing, or maybe even get a clearer mind or organize your thoughts when it comes to finances. And also, like me, I know that many other people are unaware of their own finances and this tool as well. Why? Because this is not being taught normally in schools or colleges. And this is why I believe that doing a PFC whenever you can is very important, because it will give people that reality check and help them find out where they are financially so that they can determine which decisions they need to make for their future. All right. So now that we've covered the PFC, which helps you understand and plan your finances, I'm going to pass the torch on to Jonathan Kim, where he will talk about what tools and concepts you can utilize to help start growing, saving, and protecting your money. So without further ado, please welcome Jonathan Kim.
All right. I hope you all learned something. It's so important to just learn how to manage your money wisely. Man, mainly because, as younger people, it's so easy to spend. Like, it's so easy to go out, go to the mall. I guess people don't really go to the mall anymore, huh? Go on Amazon, like buy whatever on Prime Day and like just spend all the money you have. But it's so important to start saving at a young age. And it's important not only to save, but it's important to start budgeting and start managing your money, start investing, start, planning for your future, because ultimately, if you don't start now, you're not going to start later. Like most of the people that I see that are unprepared for retirement in their like 50s and 60s, even though that seems like way far out, those people are unprepared because they decided in their 20s, it's like, I'm going to start tomorrow. I'm going to start a week later. So that's where the PFC comes in. And that's where the PFC can be a really useful tool for you to essentially have a reality check on yourself now. But yeah, thank you, Yuha, for such a wonderful session. I'm going to go into my session now. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Can everyone give me a thumbs up if you see my screen? Cool. All right, so without further ado, I'm a financial professional. I'm based out of Glendale, California. If there are some of you who live nearby, drop by, say hi in the office. But I'm a financial professional. These are all of the different services I provide. Mainly what I do is I help people save, and I help young people. I'm really passionate about helping young people save and make sure that younger folks as well as older folks are financially literate. So that's what my session is going to focus on today. I know that it said SIP in the beginning. You probably are wondering what that is. What that means is savings, investing, and protecting. So what are some savings? Savings are normally short term, right? Like in terms of the savings that we're talking about here, most of the time they're short term, something like a bank or like a high yield savings account. What that entails is immediate liquidity, which means that it's easily accessible. It's normally the downside of it is, if you can tell, the green is the pros and the red is the cons. The downside of it is that it's kind of low interest. They don't really give you a high interest rate, which we'll talk about what interest is too real quick. And it's also taxable. It's taxable every single year. This is just a general overview. We'll go into more detail on each of these here in a little bit, but I'm just going to give a general overview. Investments, like where are you investing, right? Or are you investing at all? Who here has a Robinhood account? Okay, a couple people, or like Fidelity, Schwab, whatever it might be, right? Anywhere that you're buying stocks, that would be considered an investment account. So investments can be short-term or long-term, depending on what the purpose is. Investments in general are relatively liquid, meaning that they're relatively accessible, where you can access it at, pretty easily. You can sell your stocks, you can buy stocks, however you need to. However, the downside is there are risks associated with investments, meaning the higher the gain, the potentially higher the loss, and it may become a taxable event under certain circumstances. Lastly is protection. If you save right and you invest right, what's the next step? What's the next logical step? It's to protect what you've saved, and it's to protect what you've earned, right? So that could involve risk transfer. It can involve accumulation and wealth transfer as well later on when you die. However, with protection, it is a long-term account normally because you don't want to protect something for a year and have it disappear, right? Protection is normally a long-term account. In the short term, if you look at it, it's non-liquid, which means it's not easily accessible in the short term. Because what is it for? You're paying a small amount now and transferring your risk. I'm going to have a Q&A session at the end, as well as like a short quiz. So just hold off on your questions and save it for the end if you're able to. So I wanted to show you this slide. It's a bunch of numbers, but what this is essentially how much you need to save every single month in order to be a millionaire by age 65, right? So how old is everyone here? I mean, is there anyone under like 16? Okay, anyone under 18? Okay, cool. We got one person. Anyone under like 21? Okay, cool. Anyone under 25? Anyone over 25? Okay, cool. Now I kind of got the general age range of everybody. Okay. What this chart here means is retirement and becoming a millionaire, the older you get, just gets more and more expensive. It costs way more to try to be a millionaire when you're like 30 versus when you're 20 and versus when you're like 18. So if you were like just born today, right? And your parents saved up $13 a month until you reach 65, you'd be a millionaire by 65, which is kind of nuts to think about, right? But say, let's just say the average age of the people in here is 20, right? So at 20 years old, all you really have to do is who here has a job or part-time job or makes money? Okay, cool. Does everyone make at least like $100? Yes, hopefully, right? So if you make at least like $100, what that means is you can start saving now. You can start saving $100 now. And if you do that monthly, $100 every month, which isn't a lot, that's eating out a couple times. You're going to be a millionaire by 65, assuming 10% returns. While that's not a guarantee, it just gives you a general idea of how expensive retirement and how expensive saving up for it can be. Say if you're aged, I don't know, like 40, right? Or let's just say age like 35. You wait a couple more years. By 35, you're gonna have to start saving $606 a month to be a millionaire by 65 to reach $2,120,000. I don't know about you, but I would much rather save $100 than $600 or $1,200 for that matter, right? So the point of this is to highlight how important it is for you to start saving today. Because the earlier you start, the cheaper it is. The later you start, the more expensive it is. No one likes things that are more expensive. Cool. So here's something that's kind of neat. It's called the wealth accumulation formula. What I always tell my clients, as well as my friends, my peers, people around me, is that there are three main things that you need to be able to accumulate money. The first is you need money, right? Even if it's a small amount, you're not going to make money out of air, right? So you need to save even a little bit every single month or every single year. So you need to have money and you need to understand what is the purpose of this money, right? Secondly is timing. You need time to be able to accumulate money. Why? Because especially if you're saving a small amount every single month, by saving $100 a month today, you're not going to be able to buy a car in like 2 years, right? Or at least like a $30,000 car. It's just not enough money. So you need enough time to be able to accumulate that money if you're depending on how much you're saving. It can be long term or it can be short term. If you're like an aggressive saver, maybe you might be able to save $500, $1,000, whatever that amount is, do it consistently. Third thing to understand is just by sticking money under your mattress, yes, that is technically saving, but there are smarter ways to save. One of those ways being understanding interest. Who here has heard about interest and like compound interest, getting it? Pretty much everybody, right? Even if you're not raising your hands, I see a lot of nods. Yeah, interest is basically your money working for you. And interest that you pay is your money working against you. But you want your money to work for you, right? So there's three main types of interest, which are fixed in variable and index. We'll talk about those in a little bit. Those are the three main, I guess, secret ingredients that you need to have in order to accumulate wealth. You need money, or at least a little bit of money. You need a long time, and you need to have interest, earn interest. The biggest advantage for every single person in here is you have a lot of time and you'll have a lot of potential for earning interest. And if you pay attention today, you'll know hopefully what areas you can put your money into to earn that interest. Maybe you might not have all the money right now to become a millionaire, but that'll come with time because you're all in school or you're all starting your jobs. That'll come with time. Fourth thing to understand is tax. I'm not going to get too much into it because I'm not sure how familiar everyone here is with tax yet. And lastly, I'm going to talk about inflation. So, three things to understand about each of these categories is understanding the purpose. Doesn't matter how much you're saving, it doesn't matter where you're saving. What really does matter is your purpose. If your purpose is for your Cancun vacation in the summer, save only for that Cancun vacation in that account, right? Or if your purpose for that account is to buy a car, save that account for buying a car. Don't use that car fund to pay for your shopping expenses on Amazon Prime Day, right? Don't try to mix those up. Try to have a set purpose for your set. It doesn't have to be a whole separate bank account, but for that set account that you allocated, have a purpose for it. Secondly is how much. You need to determine how much you realistically need in order to be able to save for whatever it is you're planning to buy or whatever it is you're planning to do, maybe for retirement, right? Because if I save $1 a month, yes, I'm technically saving, but is that going to be enough for me to buy a house in 2 years? Most likely not, right? Over 2 years, I'll have saved what, $12 a year, $24 in 2 years. That's most definitely not enough to buy a house. So it matters how much you save because if you don't plan that correctly, it doesn't really, serve that purpose that you wanted it to serve. And in that, you need to understand inflation and tax. And lastly, it's really difficult to do this all alone, which is why there are financial professionals such as Yuha and I that are experts in this field and do give guidance to people that are looking for it. I think even for me, I have guidance. I don't do everything for myself because even for me, I know there's someone that I can learn from and that I can, have guidance from. So that's the most important part about managing your finances is having the proper guidance, whoever that might be. But make sure that they're licensed and that they'll actually take responsibility for you. I know a lot of folks say get their investing advice, their financial advice on YouTube or like TikTok. I would be very careful with it. I'm not saying that they're all bad, because they're not. But for the most part, their job is being a content creator, right? Their job is to get more clicks, and they'll a lot of the times, unfortunately, do that via whatever means possible, whether it is accurate information or inaccurate. And if you follow that and you lose all your money, they're not going to take responsibility. So I would be very careful who you choose to receive guidance from. I would just recommend it being someone you trust. Cool. So getting right into it, interest, right? Has everyone here heard of like simple interest versus compound interest? Okay. I'm just gonna go over it quickly. Simple interest is basically, say I put $10,000 into an account, right? If I earn 10% interest on that, I would receive $1,000. So first year I receive $1,000. The next year I keep it in there, I receive another 1,000 and so on. After about 50 years, I'll have 60 grand. However, if I put that same $10,000, that same 10 grand into an account that gives me 10% compound interest, what'll end up happening is the first year looks exactly the same. You get $1,000 on your $10,000. But starting the second year, you get 10% of the previous year's principal plus interest. So you get 10% of 11,000, which means you get 1,100 that year. Next year you get 1,210 and so on, which basically means it's more of like a snowball effect to where after 50 years, the type of interest you receive is really important because person A might have 60 grand and person B has $1.1 million. I don't know about you, but I would much rather have $1.1 million, right? So that's just in a nutshell what simple and compound interest is and how it can work for you, and vice versa. This works for loans as well. What is a loan? It's money that you're borrowing, right? Do you want to borrow with simple interest or do you want to borrow with compound interest? I'll open up the floor and the first person to answer with the reason can get a gift card. So for a loan, would you want to borrow with simple interest or would you want to borrow with compound interest where the bank is charging you compound interest? All right, I don't know who raised their hand first. I'll go with Vincent. Sorry, Joseph, we'll wait till the next question.
You'd probably want simple interest because you wouldn't want to get charged like more each like for each like I guess like each month, I guess, if they're charging you based on that.
Great answer. Yeah, thank you, Vincent. That was a great answer. Basically, you want to pay less in interest to the bank, right? Because that's less of your money leaking out of your bank account. So, yep, that is exactly the answer. So, as much as we want compound interest working for us, we don't want it working against us. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. And that's why credit cards are so dangerous too, because I'm not saying that they're bad. Credit cards can be a very valuable tool. However, credit cards accumulate compound interest. So my recommendation would be pay it off every single month. If you're spending more than you can make or pay off, you probably shouldn't have a credit card. So this is like a thought experiment, but say I hire you, right? Each and every one of you, I hire you for Jonathan Kim Financial Solutions Company, right? And I give you two pay options. I'm like, okay, it's a 1 month job. I can give you 10 grand a day for the next 31 days, or I can give you a penny today and double your pay every single day. Which option would you choose? You can put up a finger for one or a finger for option two. Oh man, balloons. Okay, we got an option two. What about everyone else? One or two? Two. Okay. All right. I mean, I guess you guys caught on. This is a trick question. So how much do you think option two would be? Obviously, you're thinking it's more than 310 grand, right? Can someone unmute and just take a guess on what that second option might be?
In the millions?
In the millions? Okay, just give me a number.
50 mil?
50 mil? Man, that's a lot. Maybe not quite 50 mil, but it is 10.7 mil, which is a lot of money, right? That's a heck of a lot more than $310,000. The point of this isn't because this is a realistic example. The point of this is to show you that, say you chose the second option and you were like, hey, on day 10, I'm going to call in sick. I don't want to go to work. It's only going to cost me $5. If you decide to call in sick on day 10 and day 11, how much will you have on day 29 or day 31? By day 31, you'll only have $2.6 million. How much did you lose out on? Like $7 million. That's to show the power of compound interest and the consequences of not taking advantage of it earlier, right? Which is the point of this is to illustrate, hey, if you start saving for your retirement or start saving for your house 2 years from now, 3 years from now, even though you might think that's a better time, now there's no better time than now, right? Because you're losing out on potential future gains by not starting now. So there's three interest types. Fixed interest that you can receive, which is basically like a straight line. It's almost like a guarantee no matter what, right? You're gonna get like that 3% or 4%. The downside is it's a low interest rate, and it's most of the time going to be outpaced by inflation. These are all compound interest, by the way. Secondly is variable. Basically what it means is you can have high return when the market is good, but when the market is bad, you can lose all of your money. It basically is a roller coaster, right? Eventually it will go up over time, but there is the potential for loss. Three is index interest. Who here has heard about index interest before? Okay, good. Hopefully learn something new. Index interest is basically when the market goes up, your money goes up with the market, but when the market goes down, your money stays exactly where it was in a straight line, right? And then the next time the market goes up, you participate in a moderate portion of those gains, and the next time the market's down, your money and whatever interest you received previously is protected. So while it might not have as high returns as variable interest, you have a lot of that downside protection. What that looks like is if this red line indicates variable, kind of like the stock market, it goes up and down. This green and blue line represents index. So if the market goes up 10%, you'd have 1,100. If the market went down 10%, you'd actually lose $10. But if you had that in an indexed account, you'd be right exactly where you were before. And then next time market goes up, you go up with it. In a real world example, this is what it looks like. This is the S&P 500 over like a 20-year time period from 1998 to 2020. I mean, granted, over time, they are about the same. But in 2002, 2008, even 2020 or 2018, during all of these dips, your money would have been protected. The reason why this is important is because I don't know, if you had all your money in the market and say in 2001, right? You're like, all right, I'm finally ready to go buy that Beamer at the dealership. You're like, all right, I'm going to take out all the money for my stocks, go buy that Beamer, and then I'm going to be good. And the market crashes and your money dips in half. It gets cut in half. Now you can't buy a Beamer, you got to buy a Toyota Corolla. Or maybe if you're saving up for the Corolla, you might not be able to buy a car at all. That's what I'm trying to illustrate with this is it I'm not saying one is good, one's bad, but it's good to diversify, like with anything else. And it's important that you diversify the types of interest you're receiving, the types of accounts you have, diversify the type of risk that you have, so that you're not all putting all your eggs in one basket. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. This is just talking a little bit about risk. I know earlier I mentioned the higher the potential gains, the higher the potential risk. And this illustrates that. Kind of from the highest risk side here, where you see stocks, mutual funds, annuities, where something like stocks, you have a high potential for growth. However, with that potential for growth, you also have a high potential of risk. And as you move up the line, starting from something like a fixed index annuity, you have little to no risk at all, right? However, your upside potential is going to be curbed. So it's good across the board to diversify, right? Money that you're comfortable losing, keep it in stocks, right? If you lost all that money and you would lose no sleep over it, keep it in stocks. But people like us, people who are younger, yeah, definitely need to take advantage of the market too, because over time it will go up, and over time it will go up significantly. So, like with everything, diversify. Tax timing. Does anybody here have like, I don't know, like a high yield savings account? Okay, cool. Does anyone have like a 401k or like a 403b, some kind of retirement plan? All right, very nice. So all of those are considered places you can keep your money, right? And most of the time, the ones that I mentioned are either for savings or they're for retirement. There are three types of tax categories that you need to understand. And I'm not saying this because one's better than the other. I'm putting this info out there so you understand and you know how to utilize each of these tax categories. First category is the one you're probably most familiar with. It's tax now. Who here has gotten their like paycheck from a job? like not cash under the table, like if you work at a Korean barbecue place. Okay, if you made $20 an hour, right? And you worked, I don't know, 10 hours that week, how much should you be getting on your paycheck technically by your hourly? Like $200, right? But when you got your paycheck, was your paycheck $200? No. What happened? You kind of got charged like the what the heck costs, right? Your Medicare, Social Security, all these weird like FICA, like I don't even know what half of these mean, but the government's taking these out before you even get your paycheck. That would be considered tax now, where taxes get taken out immediately or at the end of the year. When you file your taxes, you're going to have to pay taxes on whatever gains you had or whatever you earned. What falls under that is most bank accounts. So any kind of savings account that you receive interest on, CDs like certificate of deposits, not like the big round discs, stock portfolio, cryptocurrency, mutual funds, and real estate when you sell it. Basically, the easiest way to understand this is if you're planting like a seed, right? Say I'm planting an apple tree. What this would mean is when I'm planting that seed in the ground, the government takes some tax out of the seed, right? And then every year that seed grows, they're going to take like a branch off or an apple off every single year that it grows. With tax later, they're not going to charge me tax on the seed that I'm planting, but later when it grows into a big apple tree, they're going to take a lump sum out of that apple tree, the government. The third category, tax advantage, basically is, yeah, they're going to collect the tax on the seed that I'm planting now, but later when it grows into a big apple tree, I have the potential to have that whole tree for myself, never have to pay taxes on it. There are pros and cons with each of these, mainly with tax advantage being that it's like a long-term plan. Tax now means most likely it's very liquid, it's very accessible. Tax later, you get the tax benefit of getting a tax break now, especially if you're a little bit higher income as well. So tax later has like 401k, IRAs, annuities, 403bs. Tax advantage would include like Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks, like college savings plans, health savings accounts, municipal bonds, cash value life insurance. When utilized correctly, all of these that are listed here can be a very valuable tool. Does that mean that you guys need to get into every single one of these accounts? No. Just because your friend's getting into one account, like a Roth, okay, I can probably say a Roth IRA is recommended for everyone here, but you need to talk to a professional and you need to find what is right for you. Because what's right for your friend who lives down the street might not be right for you because you guys might have different purposes. So always, always seek the proper guidance. I'm just going to skip over this for now. But I just want to give a general example of, what inflation is. I kind of got everybody there. Everyone thought I was going to talk about this. Okay. Yeah, inflation. What is inflation, right? Does everyone remember what like a Happy Meal cost or like a Big Mac cost when they were like little? Can someone unmute and tell me like how much like a Happy Meal cost when you were like 3, 4 years old, if you were paying attention?
I think like $6.
Okay, yeah, like $6. I know when I was little, which isn't that long ago again. But when I was little, yeah, it was like, $4 or $5 for like a Big Mac meal, right? You could get like a drink, fries, and have like a Big Mac for like $5. How much is it to go get a Big Mac today? Like a fruit drink, like large fries, and like a Big Mac.
Like $12.
Yeah, it's like 12, but it's like what, more than doubled in price? That's what inflation is. It basically means the money that's sitting in your bank account is losing purchasing power if it's not earning interest or enough interest. So the easiest way to think about it is in terms of I like fast food, right? Today, if you go to In-N-Out and you try to get a double meal, it costs like 8, 9, roughly $10 with tax, right? So just take off a zero. It'll cost $10 today. About 30 years ago, that same double meal cost like $4 to $5. Can you imagine in 30 years when you are all grown up, you have family and kids, you go to In-N-Out, you're like, all right, I'm gonna get a double. You pay like $26 for a double. That's nuts, right? The point of this is that's something that we need to plan around. It's not something that you can close your eyes and ignore, because if you plan, say today you're planning to buy a Camry, right? A Camry is like 30 grand. If you plan to buy a Camry today, but you're not planning to buy it for another like 10 years, and you start saving up today to buy a Camry in 10 years, and you saved up 30 grand in 10 years, right? 10 years later, you go to the car dealership, you're like, all right, I'm ready to buy my Camry. They're going to tell you what? Sorry, the Camry is like 45 grand now. I don't know where you were the last 10 years, but you can't afford a Camry anymore. That's what inflation is. And so it's so important that we need to plan for it, because if you don't, down the line, you're going to get screwed. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. But yeah, that's kind of the first portion of just explaining a whole bunch of different concepts of how, finances work here in America, and understanding like interest, taxes, inflation, and risk. So does anyone have any questions on that first part of the presentation? Oh man, I must have done some pretty good explaining then, huh? No questions. All right, then I'm gonna move on to this next portion of the presentation. Something like this was really helpful for me when I heard it, because I honestly didn't know where to start. Even if you understand all those concepts, you understand like, okay, I know that compound interest is good, or like I can use different tax vehicles for my, planning. Well, where can I start doing that? There are four major financial institutions here in America. First of them is banks, right? Who here has a bank account? Hopefully everybody, right? Second are investment firms. For those of you who have like a Robinhood or Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, whatever it might be, those are investment firms. Third is real estate. I'm guessing nobody here owns a home or any kind of land, but hopefully in the future that will be part of your plan, right? And lastly is insurance companies. A lot of people don't realize that insurance companies are one of the four major financial institutions here in America. And it's where a lot of America's money actually is. So getting right into it, I'm going to talk about four major things in each of these categories. First is going to be the same as before, purpose. Each of these has its own purpose, and it's really important you don't mix up the different purposes of each of these institutions. Secondly, are use cases. When can you use them? Pros and cons of each, and some examples of ways you can start using these today, right? Banks. What is the purpose of a bank? It provides a safe place for your savings, right? Because there's this thing called the FDIC, Federal Department of whatever Insurance Commissions. They'll basically guarantee anything that's in your bank account up to $250,000. So does anybody here have more than 250K sitting in their bank account? Okay, if you do, please give me a call. Because there might be some better places to keep your money. But yeah, basically anything under 250K, you keep it in your bank account, and no matter what happens, whether that bank closes or whether that bank just goes bankrupt, your money is guaranteed by this thing called the FDIC. Banks are useful because they offer loans and credit. If you want to buy a car, if you want to buy a house, you're going to have to go through a bank if you're financing. Facilitate transactions basically means that it's easily accessible. What are some of the use cases? First is as you use it every single day, opening a checking and a savings account. Recently, there's this new thing called a high yield savings account. Before, bank savings accounts used to only give you like 0.1% interest, basically nothing. But now there are these things called high yield savings accounts that give you like maybe anywhere between like 3 to 5% in compound interest. However, that goes under that tax now category that I talked about. but it's still better than nothing, and it's still better than having your money sitting in like your checking account, right? So I would recommend, look into a high yield savings account that can have your money work for you when you're not using it, your immediately accessible money. You can apply for personal, auto, or mortgage loans. If you're trying to buy a house, if you want to start a business, or if you want to buy a car. Banks offer debit cards, which are directly linked to your checking or your savings account, as well as credit cards, which, earlier we learned that credit cards charge compound interest. However, if you utilize them correctly, they can be a very useful tool as well. Some of the pros, it's safe, like I said, and it's accessible. Cons would be that it has low interest. Like I said, average historical rate has been like 0.1% that they give in a checking savings account. Now it's a little better, like 3 to 5. But here in like LA, where I live, inflation during COVID was like 7, 8, 9% in the big cities. Even though as a whole in the US, it might have been lower, in the big cities, it's definitely higher. So it normally can't, the type of interest you receive from like a bank will not be enough to cover inflation. What does that mean? Your money is actually losing value over time. So it's important to consider that, but you're going to have to use a bank regardless because it's the most accessible place you can access your money. So what are some examples of use cases that you can use a bank for, or like something like a high yield savings account? Everyone needs to have something called an emergency fund. Has anyone heard of an emergency fund? Okay. Can someone like unmute or use a chat box? Preferably unmute, and tell me what their understanding of an emergency fund is.
It's the amount of money that you set aside for anything that might come up. Anything from a car breaking down to medical bills or anything that you might have to take care of, so that in case that anything that does happen, you have a set aside amount that you could have to allocate towards it.
Yep, great answer. If everyone's watched that movie Up, you know how they have that piggy bank that they use to save up for their trip down to like, I don't know, South America. It kind of works like that, where you save up a certain amount, an amount that you're comfortable with, generally about 3 to 6 months of what your monthly spending is, right? So that if you got fired, or if something were to happen to a family member and you had to take some time off of work to take care of them, or God forbid something happens to you, you can rely on that emergency fund to cover you during that, whatever that time period might be, right? So the important part about an emergency fund is you need to be able to access it on a dime, like at a moment's notice. So it needs to be somewhere where it's accessible, hence a bank. So keeping your emergency fund in somewhere like a high yield savings account there can be a very useful tool. You can also save for big purchases via a high yield savings account. Manage your daily expenses. Most of the time, you'll have your bills being paid out of your bank accounts. Receiving managed income, right? Your income. I don't know, unless you work in like a Korean barbecue place where you're getting paid under the table, you're going to receive a paycheck, and that paycheck is going to have to go into a bank account. Lastly, and I want to emphasize this for everyone here, is if you don't already have a credit card, or if you don't already have any kind of credit history, like say if you're in college and you're renting an apartment, offer to be the one whose name's on the lease or name's on the bill. While that is a little bit more responsibility, it's an excellent way for you to start building credit now. Because if you don't have credit, it becomes a lot harder to start building it in the future. Credit, all it means really, like not like credit cards and everything like that, but credit as like everyone heard about like having over an 800 credit score, right? Basically, the higher the score, the better. Credit basically means the bank looks at it to see how reliable is Isabel going to be in paying back this loan that I'm giving her, right? Or how reliable is Jacob going to be when he pays me like 3 grand down payment on his new car? How reliable? How much can I trust him to pay me back for the rest of the car, right? As a bank. That is what credit is. And if you don't have a history of reliability, they are not going to lend you money. That goes for when you buy your first car. That goes for when you buy your house. All of these things. It's so important for you to start building credit today. All right, so that is banks. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense and how you can start using banks today. I'm sure everyone already uses it. Secondly, are investment firms. I'm not going to go over today what stocks to buy. I'm not going to give you investment advice because that's not what I'm here to do. But I will tell you that the purpose of investing is to help people grow your wealth. And secondly is you can utilize products such as stocks, bonds, or mutual funds, ETFs, to accomplish some goals that you set out. So you can do that. The only way to do that is by opening something called a brokerage account. This could be something like a Robinhood, Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard, you name it. Even for like crypto, that would also fall under this umbrella, where you can invest in stocks, bonds, and ETFs. The pros of investing in the stock market or investing in mutual funds or ETFs are you have potential for higher returns over the long term, as well as potential for diversification. Again, diversifying doesn't mean just buying tech, health, buying Tesla, Nvidia, like whatever it might be within stocks. Diversifying here means you could have, some of your account be towards real estate, or some of it be investment, some of it in your bank account. I'm talking about big picture diversification, as well as diversification within this one account. Asset management services, right? So you could pay someone to manage your account, basically. Some of the cons for investment firms are that you have a higher risk of losing your money because you have those potential for higher gains, like I mentioned earlier. And if you do have someone managing your account, you're going to have to pay fees for those account management costs, as well as every single time you make a transaction, you may have to pay fees associated with those transactions. So what are some of the use cases that you can start utilizing today to use investment firms? Is one of the ways that you can start today is if you have disposable income, open a Roth IRA. It can be even a small amount of money, but so long as you have verified income, even if you're under 18, if you have verified income, you can open a Roth IRA where this is a retirement account that falls under that last tax category that I mentioned earlier. Do you guys remember tax advantage here? This is a category that a Roth IRA would fall under, meaning later on you get a big advantage by putting your money into something like this. You can open a 529 college savings plan. This is something like maybe you hope that your parents might have done for you when you were little, where you can use some of those funds to pay for tuitions. Lastly is you can invest in a mix of stocks and mutual funds just in that account long term to grow extra cash that you would have otherwise been spending on Amazon or sticking under your mattress, right? People don't really do that anymore. So yeah, utilize investments because they're a great tool to be able to help grow your money long term. Third is real estate. Who here lives in a house or an apartment or has a roof over their head? From the looks of it, everyone has a roof over their head. Thankfully, no one's like living out of their car or anything. Wherever you're sitting or standing, that is considered real estate. So the house that you live in, the apartment that you live in, it's real estate, whether it belongs to you, your parents, or the person you're renting it from. That is considered real estate. So what is the purpose of real estate? Is to buy, sell, and manage property. Who here has played Monopoly? Basically, real estate is just Monopoly. It can be a source of investment income as well as capital appreciation, which basically means capital appreciation is value of that property going up over time. Some of the use cases of real estate are to buy properties or rent out properties for income. So if your parents have like a second home, they might be renting it out and generating income from it, right? Pros for real estate are you have potential for steady income via rent. So consistent income if you have good tenants. Secondly is you have long-term appreciation in property value, which basically means value of your property can and will go up over time. Downsides are that normally to buy real estate, it costs a lot. So you're going to have to pay a lot of a down payment in order to buy like a house. Especially here in California where I live, real estate's like pretty damn expensive. Uh, you're gonna have to put like in some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars down just to be able to buy a house. So downside is you're going to have to save up a lot. Second downside is market volatility and maintenance costs. Basically means market can go up and down, even in real estate, which is generally considered pretty stable. And if you own real estate, then you're going to have to pay to maintain that property. I know like my parents, they have like the house that I grew up in, they rent it out, but every year something breaks down, like the AC breaks down, like some piping goes wrong. And those are costs that have to come out of pocket in order to be able to fix them. So, yep, that's real estate, some of the use cases and how you can start even today for younger people to utilize real estate is one of those ways is to use like a crowdfunding platform. So if you've ever heard of something like Fundrise, CrowdStreet, these are all platforms that kind of work similarly in ways to like Robinhood, where instead of you going out and buying $1 million property, maybe you and 200 other people are buying that property so you can, only put a small amount, but still be able to get some of those gains later on when that property is sold, right? So you can use something like Fundrise or CrowdStreet to use a small amount today to start diversifying some of your portfolio into real estate. Next option would be to collect rental income from property if you do end up buying property in the future, or even, I don't really recommend it, but some of my friends, they've done like Airbnb arbitrage, right? Where they would still generate rental income. Cool. So that is real estate. I know I'm just blasting through all of these so that we can stay under the time limit, but this is going to be the last topic before I kind of start asking. I guess I have like 2 gift cards to give out left, so really focus and pay attention because questions are a coming, I promise you. Purpose of insurance companies, first and foremost, are to protect against risks and uncertainties. The purpose of insurance, first and foremost, no matter what anybody else tells you, is protection, right? Because you have gathered all of your assets, hopefully, up until that point, or even if you don't have assets, can someone unmute and just tell me of everything they own, right? Everything you currently own as like a 20-something-year-old or, 18, 19-year-old, what's the most valuable thing you currently own?
Health.
Your health, okay. Jacob,
My car,
your car? Oh man, what kind of car do you have?
Toyota Camry.
Oh man, that's a valuable car. I agree. Anybody else?
Life insurance.
Life insurance is the most valuable thing you own? Man, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, those are all valid answers, right? It's what you think is most valuable to you. What I think is most valuable to me is myself, right? That might sound a little selfish, but what I mean by that is it doesn't matter what else I own. It doesn't matter if I have a house, if I have a car, if I have, I don't know, an iPad or 10 iPads. What matters to me is my income earning potential. If I'm not able to work and generate income right now, I wish I had millions of dollars to where I didn't have to work, but unfortunately, I do not yet. If I'm not able to earn income, it doesn't matter if I have a car because I'm not going to be able to pay for gas or pay the car payment or my house or rent. The most valuable asset that I currently own right now is Jonathan Kim, myself. What do you have to do with valuable assets? You need to protect that asset. And so the only way that you can really protect yourself is via health insurance or life insurance. And life insurance is, we'll talk about like living benefits later, but just like you would protect your car, hopefully everyone here who drives has car insurance, right? Because first of all, you legally need to have car insurance, but also what is the purpose of insurance as a whole? If you think about it like this, if you have like a big bucket of water in front of you, right? What can you do with water? You can shower, you can wash your car, you can drink it, You can do all sorts of things with water because it's valuable. If you have this gigantic bucket of water that needs to last you the rest of your life, say your house catches on fire or your car catches on fire. What are you going to need to do with that water? You're going to have to dump out a good amount of it to pour that fire out, right? Think of that water like your cash or your emergency fund or your savings, whatever it might be, or your retirement accounts. What you're doing with an insurance company essentially is you're transferring your risk. When you hold that entire water bottle, right, or water jug, you're holding all that risk to yourself because you're essentially self-insuring, right? What I own is going to back me up in case something happens. But with an insurance company, you're taking like a glass of water out of your jug, giving it to the insurance company. Here's like, here, take this. If there's a fire in my house, if my car, gets into a crash, if something happens, you use your water to pour out, like, you use your water to put out that fire, right? So that later on, even if there is a fire, I can still continue to enjoy my water as I would have otherwise, right? So that's essentially what the purpose of insurance is. You're transferring your risk away from yourself that you're holding currently to the insurance company by paying a small amount now to receive a larger benefit later when you do need it. So use cases of insurance would be purchase insurance policies to cover potential losses and protect against various risks. That's a lot of words. Basically means to protect yourself. Tax advantage, cash accumulation. Something like cash value life insurance can be a tax deferred and later tax advantage account when you plan it correctly. So again, this can be another one of those accounts that fall under this category here, right? And so when you plan it correctly and you talk to a professional to plan it correctly, that can be one of the use cases. Some of the pros for insurance, utilizing insurance companies are you protect against losses. Cash value can build with potential higher returns using something like index interest earlier, where it goes up and stays the same and goes up and stays the same. And later, living benefits with life insurance. Living benefits, basically what they are if you have like cancer, heart attack, stroke, all of these things where you probably will have to call 911 for, maybe not cancer, but like a heart attack or a stroke, that you would need to call 911 for. If you have something like that happen and you have life insurance specifically with living benefits that have like critical, chronic, and terminal illness, you can get what is called an accelerated death benefit. So you know how if you have like a $500,000 insurance policy, it's like, why the heck would I pay for that when that's not something that I'll ever get? If something like that happens to you, you get a portion of that or a good chunk of that when that event happens to you. So I used to work on a 911 ambulance in Vegas. And I saw so many younger people, like in their 20s, 30s, 40s, having significant health issues. Like people in their late 30s having like heart attacks, strokes. Super sad to see, but if you have living benefits, the point of that is not, to offset your health insurance because everyone needs health insurance regardless. The point of having living benefits with something like life insurance is it takes on average like 8 months to 2 years for you to recover, right, from a heart attack because 75% of the people who have heart attacks survive. Well, what are they going to do for those 8 months to 2 years while they're recovering? If you have bills that are stacking up, you're not, first of all, not going to be able to focus on recovering properly. And your health insurance isn't going to pay for your car, your house, your kids if you have them. They're not going to pay for all of that. You're going to use the payment that comes out of there to pay for your house, to pay for your car, and whatever other living costs you might have. Essentially, you're transferring your risk away from your retirement accounts, your savings, to the insurance company. Downside of that is there are lower immediate returns. This is not a short-term solution. So if you're looking for a short-term solution, look towards banks or maybe even investments. But insurance companies are not a short-term solution. As well as cost of insurance, right? Remember that bucket I was telling you about? You're going to have to pay that cup of water. That's a cup of water you're technically not getting back, right? So that would be considered the cost of insurance. Cool. So some of the ways you can start using insurance today. Hopefully you don't get into a car accident, but if you get into a car accident, Auto insurance may cover the cost of repairing your car or repairing the other person's car, right? Secondly, is to accumulate cash value over time via life insurance, which can be used for costs such as education or tax advantage retirement. If you're planning to go back to school or if you're planning to go to school, it can be an account that you utilize for that. Third is use living benefits to receive a lump sum payment if you're diagnosed with a critical illness like cancer, heart attack, or stroke. Um, like one of my mom's close friends, she's also a nurse. She was wicked healthy. She's like early to mid 50s. Never had any health problems, but one day she like just collapsed. Got taken to the hospital, found out she had a stroke. Fortunately, she had life insurance with living benefits, and so we made a claim for her, and she was able to receive a lump sum payment of like $200,000 plus. That was money that she used to um, essentially take a full recovery, not have to rush back to work. And thankfully, thank God, did make a full recovery. But that's one of the use cases for something like living benefits. All right. So that is the end of the portion of my presentation. I have a couple of questions that I would like to ask before we finish up. But before that, can I open up the floor to a Q&A? Like if you have any questions on any of the topics I told you or even didn't talk about, or towards me or towards Yuha. So yes, Jamie.
If I have a 401k plan through my current employer, but I plan on leaving that job, would the best option be to roll it over into an IRA?
Yep, that can be an option. It depends on the type of on the place, first of all, where you have your 401k, because you can have options where they continue to manage it even after you leave. That might be an option to just leave it there. Another option would be to, again, roll it over into an IRA. Or depending on where your new job is, you might be able to roll it over into your new 401k or whatever your retirement account is there.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? All right. I guess we'll kind of get into this quiz. Trying to choose something that's not super easy. But okay. How about this? Um First question is going to be, you've heard that some insurance plans can help you save some money and grow it over time while providing protection. Which one offers these benefits? A, health insurance, B, auto insurance, C, cash value life insurance, and D, home insurance. First person to answer will get the prize. Man. I guess this is a direct message, but from Abigail, we got an answer of C, which is the correct answer. Congratulations, you get a Starbucks gift card. Okay, cool. The reason for that is health insurance isn't somewhere where it has like a cash value portion, right? Same thing with auto or home insurance. Those are insurance plans. Basically, you pay it, and if you don't use it, you lose it, or you don't really need it, right? If you don't use it, it's just there to protect you, but if you don't use it, it's just money that you're paying. Something like cash value life insurance, it is that component, but it also has cash value where it kind of has like a savings component to it. Cool. You want to buy a small piece of a popular tech company, say like, I don't know, who has an iPhone, right? Say you want to buy a piece of Apple. What type of investment should you choose? A, stocks, B, bonds, C, savings accounts, D, insurance policy. Eugene.
A, stocks.
That is correct. It is a stock. The reason for that is a stock is basically a small piece of a company, right? So when you're buying a stock, you're actually buying a small piece of that company. So it can be a very good way to invest as well as diversify. All right. Well, that brings me to the end of the presentation today. Hopefully this workshop was helpful. I know it was helpful in one way or another, but what I do want to do is encourage each and every one of you to take the weekend, or I guess it's not the weekend yet. Take this week, and if you don't have time till the weekend, take a look at your finances. Just if you have credit cards or bank accounts, whatever it might be, take a look at how much expenses you had, everything that Yuha talked about earlier, regarding your expenses. My guess is you're probably spending a lot more than you think. Even just looking at like how much you're spending on Amazon, you might think you're spending $100 on Amazon a month, but when you actually look, you might be spending $200, $300, $400 on Amazon without realizing it. Same thing for your car, your gas payment, right? It's like, oh yeah, I put in like $50 of gas a month. When you actually look at your credit card statements or your like bank accounts, you're spending like $250 on gas if you're driving a lot. So take this week, go through all of your accounts, and just write it out. Write it. What works best for me is a pen and a paper. Write it out and try to do that on a regular basis. See how much you're actually saving, if you are saving, or if you're not, see how much you're either negative or you're able to save. And if you do want to get in touch with either Yuha or I or another financial professional, get in touch with the person that invited you today. And we can make that happen so that you can have a plan moving forward. You know, it's important that even if it's a small step, that you do take it, because just by knowing this, it's not enough. Unfortunately, knowledge is power, but knowledge is only really power when you utilize that knowledge. So my encouragement to everyone here today, you guys already took the first step just by being here. But what I would encourage you to do as your next step is really utilize what you learned today and seek the proper guidance. So in doing so, I want to put up this survey. It's got this cool dinosaur in the middle. If you have your cell phones, feel free to take a picture of that QR code. I'm also going to put a link in the chat room for everyone to be able to click on. What this is a survey form, and I don't want to make this sound like it's a survey form where like it's just like, hey, we want to learn how we did so we can be better. Yes, that is part of it. But what this is so that we can get back in touch with you, right? So that we can answer any questions you might have, so that you can also get in touch with us to be able to seek the right guidance, to be able to seek the right accounts for your future. So everyone, please fill the survey out. And to, I believe, 3 or 4 people, the first 3 or 4 people that fill out the survey, 4 people, if I'm correct, they're going to be receiving Starbucks gift cards of varying amounts. And there's like a last portion where there is like a feedback section. The more detailed, the better. So don't feel the time pressure. We'll give out the gift cards based on time as well as quality of your answers. But thank you for your time today. I'm gonna give everyone like maybe like 3 to 5 minutes for filling out the survey. And when you're done, feel free to just put it in the chat box, and then you feel free to exit. All right. Yes, Donna.
I just had a random question about health insurance.
Yeah.
So, if health insurance is something that is a necessity for life, why does something like a deductible exist? Or why, in most cases, do we need to meet the deductible in order for the service to be covered by the insurance?
That's a great question. Like I know I mentioned a little bit about what cost of insurance is earlier, right? With insurance companies, say for health insurance, I can't speak to the official underlying reasons why there is a deductible and there isn't. But from my understanding about insurance as well as deductibles, is that the cost of insurance for something with like say a $0 deductible would be much, much higher to where you might not be able to afford it, or person B might not be able to afford it, whereas they could afford a health insurance policy that has like a $500 deductible or like $1,000 deductible, whatever that amount might be. Usually that cost of insurance is offset by the deductible, right? The higher the deductible, the lower the cost of insurance. Vice versa, the lower the deductible, the higher the cost of insurance regularly. So yeah, it's just like pros and cons, cost benefit in most situations.
Thank you.
No problem. Anybody have any other questions? Not just about finances, but you know, if you're going through school or anything like that in general too. Life decisions, whether you should open a credit card, whether you shouldn't, stuff like that too. Feel free to ask. I'll stick around. Yuha and I will stick around for the next couple of minutes. But yeah, while you're filling out those surveys or as you're finishing up. All right. One other thing that I do want to mention is, you know, for everyone here, everyone saw that small amount that you need to save every single month to become a millionaire by 65, right? That's not really a guarantee based on like 10% returns because there's no guarantee of there being 10% returns. But what I would recommend is even if, you know, there, I would err away from anyone that tells you everyone needs to be doing this because most of the cases, uh, it's either very too general or B, it's information that might not be applicable to you. But I do agree, everyone does need to start saving, even if it's a little bit, because you do want to get into a savings habit, especially as you get older, right? Because if you're not able to save $100 of your, I don't know, $500 or $50 of your $500 that you're making a month, then later when you're making 10 grand, 20 grand a month, you're not going to be able to save that $1,000 or $2,000. So even if it's a little bit, I would set a percentage of your income that you plan on saving and do that consistently. And if you're able to increase it, go ahead and increase it. But also, again, have the right guidance to do so. But yeah, I guess that's it for my portion. Yuha, if you have anything to add, feel free to add. But I just want to thank everyone for your time tonight. And I hope to see you all soon in the near future. Thank you all. Did everyone fill out the survey? Or is anyone having issues with their survey? All right. Then for those of you that are filling out the survey, the gift cards will be sent to your email. And to everyone else who received a gift card today, those will all be being sent to your email as well. Hannah, I see a question about possibly meeting with financial advisors. Will we be contacted if interested? Yes, I would get in touch with the person that invited you to the seminar or to this workshop. Tell them, hey, I'm interested in meeting with either like Yuha or Jonathan or just anybody who's more experienced, and they should be able to get you in touch. No problem. All right, then I'm going to, man, we finished like right on time. I'm going to close out this Zoom then. Hopefully everyone has a wonderful night. Congratulations all for making it through to the end. And I hope you all start using this info. All right, everyone, have a wonderful night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.